And hello, everyone. How are you doing? It's Dave Bondy. We are keeping it real. And tonight, talking to former investigative reporter Ronnie Dahl. She has a long career. I actually met her back in Wilmington, North Carolina, many, many years ago during my second job. But if you don't know her, she is someone who has a unique style. She keeps it real more than anyone that I've met. She will go after officials. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, Independent. If you're doing wrong, she will go after those people. She will hold people accountable like they should. And now she has another job that she's doing. So I'm going to bring her in right now and talk to her. And let me see if I can do this here. There we are. Hello. Good to see you.
Hey, Dave, I miss talking to you, but I love how you said a unique style.
Well, yeah, it is a unique style. So I'm watching right now. Yeah, you have one big fan watching. I'm sure you have many big fans out there, but yeah, you are the definition of realness, because who you are or who you were off camera is the same on camera, because you know a lot of reporters and people out there, they're not real, but I think that's why people love you.
So how this whole thing happened was when I went to Channel 7. I switched from Fox 2. I was only per diem at Fox 2 for like 5 years. Per diem, for those that don't know, is you're freelance. So there would literally be like Sunday night, I would do the night show and get off at 11 and have to be back in at 4 a.m. on a Monday.
Wow.
Because you're freelance. So you just take whatever is available, right? So I had a former coworker, Barb Rothler, and she became the assistant news director at Channel 7. And under Tim Dye, she was like, hey, would you want to come back? Because back in the day, I was a researcher for Steve Wilson.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Right. But I was also like a writer and fill-in producer over at Channel 7. And then, kind of moved around and went to 2. And so she was like, you should come back. So I went back to 7 as like investigative producer for 3 days out of the week, and then the reporter on the weekends.
Oh.
So we get a new news director, Dave Manny comes in. And apparently Dave, while he was in New York, so Dave, like, I love this guy, and you don't hear that a lot about management and the news media, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Dave was from Detroit, worked in the TV market, but then became the communications manager for Kwame Kilpatrick, then the mayor. He leaves, moves around, but then he comes back and he gets the news director job at Channel 7. So he's like, hey, I like in New York, and I think it was an EP or something up there. And he's like, we're watching your video because I pretty much know I'm coming. And you're doing a story about squatters. And you're like, what? You're going to shoot me? And you're just standing there like, come on. Now, and he goes, we were freaking out because we're like, this girl's crazy. Like, if that would have happened, we would have had a security team around you and this, that, and the other. And you're like, whatever. What people don't know off camera is, that story, like it was, you have the support of the neighbors, but a lot of them you can't put on camera because these squatters or whatever, they'll retaliate against them once we leave. So
yeah,
I knew neighbors were watching out for me. One was a captain of the Detroit Fire Department, which is even how I even got the story. So that kind of set this whole thing into motion about letting me be me and tell the story.
It's rare to have a manager that can do that. And for people who are watching, we're going to get into what's going on with TV news nowadays and what you're doing now. But I'm going to put up on the screen. I actually am able to do this, and I can just play the video, but not the audio. Oh, wrong button here. I'm still learning how all this software works. One of your pieces, a squatter. Hold on here. I think that's how. Hold on here. Share screen. Even my mom loved watching you back in the day. hold on. Okay, there we are.
Sorry, that's my dog.
Oh no, you protecting the place. So okay, as we're talking, that's you like going after or getting him on camera, literally. I don't know if you remember this story. You probably do. It's what came up first on YouTube.
So, in this story, he was living in this building. Basically, it was in a neighborhood with a lot of people will know, like the Motor City Blightbusters, and this guy had kind of taken over that commercial building and then was doing all kinds of things out of it. Yeah, see, you have to make it entertaining. So we had the bowling ball, and that, in fact, I think I still have that bowling ball today.
You're using the props. The news director Scott Pickey, they'd be happy,
right?
Yeah. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up. When I say unique, I think that's why some people, they like me or a Charlie LaDuff. They're not just a reporter. Hello, I'm a reporter. You're real. And it took me a while to learn that in this business. I had advice from when I worked in Toledo, Ohio, but just be you. It's easy advice, but it's hard to do. And when I did it, that's when I started to grow even better. And it's just you. But you're right. There's some people who don't like you in management as well. And I'm sure you've been through that. But Dave Manny, I interviewed with him for a job and it didn't work out, but I would have loved it though. But then you had a new boss. For people who don't know, news director is basically our boss. The next boss probably just didn't like your thing, I guess.
Well, I think for that, what happened was I didn't realize how much Dave was protecting me with the administration in Detroit. And he would fight for them. And there's so many long stories behind this whole thing. But we basically said when he came in, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we want you on board. And they wouldn't get on board. And we went ahead with it. And then it was butting heads every day since then. And the stories in between, it really is, if I didn't live it, I wouldn't believe it. But yeah, so when he leaves, it goes to, she's like the biggest thing that we've had here at the station, because what was happening is WXYZ wasn't connecting with the people of Detroit. And I had come from Fox 2, which has strong demographics within the city. Yeah. To them talking about giving me this big raise, to then the new person coming in and you're a pain in the ass, you're getting out and we're putting you back on general news. And I'm like, no, you guys gave me this title and now you're taking it like, but the public doesn't know that. And for me, and David, I'm sure you've had this, it's for them that sit back in, these offices, they don't have to face them like we do. And
no.
If you make the decision, I remember one time they were pulling me off of a story. I was helping an elderly man. I remember it like it was yesterday. I lived on America Street. It was a land bank house. And they were pulling me off to go do some, story out in the suburbs that had already been told and wasn't blah, blah, blah. And I said, he's going to turn that on and feel like he didn't matter. So what I did was I got her on, because I wouldn't answer the phone, and then I make them blow up the phone, and I'd be like, oh, wait. Okay, here, I need you to explain to Mr. Williams why you're making this decision, right? So that doesn't make you popular with management. But when you can't sleep at night, because it's never a story for me, it's always been, this is a person's, that's their life. And we have the power to help them. And when you shift that, then people look at it like I made that decision. So all I was saying, let's bring people along for the decision-making process. You made the decision. You own your decision. So, yeah. But I was lucky enough at that time. I knew it was coming to an end. And I, because of my relationship, Dave, we're about sources, and we build sources. And one of the ways I've done that through the years was always, drop off cookies or, you follow up with something, right? Like whatever. And I try to work the source within ATF, which is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, because they're so hard to get information out of. And I had bugged the PIO so much that when he was about to retire, but he was moving to become move up in the company before his retirement, they needed a PIO. And so he called me up and was like, do you know anyone? Would you be interested in getting out of news? And I was like, funny you should call me today.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's kind of so I had a good transition out of news there. So
wow. Someone said my lighting is bad. Let me move back. Okay, I was too close, I think. The viewers are critiquing the lighting, but that's good. Okay,
we're sorry, we don't have professional camera crews. Like I told you, I was running because I was stuck in traffic and I had to put my TV makeup on. I haven't had to do that in a while.
Okay, so you were, I don't want to go through everything, but yeah, I met you back in Wilmington, North Carolina. Let me think, was it 1990, 2000, 2001, something like that, I think.
Yeah. We don't do math and follow the years.
No, I don't do math. You were at ABC 12 in Flint, Michigan, and you're no longer there. When did you leave? Was it April, May? Or when did you leave?
The end of May, 1st of June.
Okay, and now I see on the screen Ronnie Dahl Investigations. What is this about?
So I knew it. It's one of those things like you want to believe in journalism, and I believe in real journalism, like you do, Dave. But it's changing, and but again, so I had a situation where I tried to start a true crime podcast, and it just at the end of the day wasn't making money. So you have to say, okay, I have to suck it up and go back to work. I had met the then news director, Denise Killian, while I worked for ATF, because, part of my job there was to reach out to all the media and do training and this, that, and the other. And so Denise was in need of, a strong reporter, investigative reporter, and then a weekend anchor. So, and I'm not an anchor, but I think for them it was that position pays more, which is, for her was why she could justify having someone with my experience.
True.
Well, you can Google me and kind of understand the type of person you're getting, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a secret. You know who you're getting.
Denise left for another position, and after she left, let's just say I think at that time, I was already starting to look into the mayor and some of the things, and the mayor has a close relationship with the station, which he will tell you every time you meet him that he used to be a longtime employee of that TV station. And so therefore, I think he feels like he has influence over the station. And so I guess there was some complaints from the administration, at least how it was explained to me, about some of my reporting. I think it started with when I did the story, there was a settlement with the lawsuit was actually filed before Neely was mayor. And I won't even go into, because it's never been public, what I actually found out about all of this. But publicly, what happened was through the years, people had named the female Flint PD officer involved, right? Mary Busnick, but they had never named the male involved officers that she accused of sexually harassing her through the years. And even though their names were in a public document. So they ended up settling part of this lawsuit because she was one of I think 17 or 18 defendants from different departments and this, that, and the other. They gave her a settlement. It was $177,000. but no one prior to that had ever named the other people.
Hmm.
So it's a public document. So I got the public document. And I remember, because it cost me $24, which I still have not been reimbursed for. And I kind of feel like if you name her, she was basically kind of slut shamed throughout this process. And so I did the story. I reached out to the mayor's office. I reached out to the officers. No one wanted to comment. And I think they thought that it wasn't going to air. So it airs. And in fact, they didn't even say anything after it aired. It was only after then City Councilman Eric Mays had the Chief Green in front of him and went after him. And I'm sitting in the audience, right? Like, that wasn't even my story that night. I just popped over. And he's like, there's the reporter right there. And it goes viral. But what people don't know is that Chief Green had a relationship with Mary Busnick at the time. So that part, and so Chief Green is going after him and all this other stuff. And I think they were worried about, and this is only an assumption on my part, that I'm the type of person you ask the questions. Like, these questions are relative. These are what people need to know.
Yeah.
You know, and just so you know, when I can't sleep at night, what do? I dig through documents, Dave. I go through campaign finance reports. I do all of that.
You don't have that now with many journalists, especially coming out of school and so forth. But just it's upsetting.
So anyway, you know, so that seemed to kind of, you know, light a fight or you know, it ignited a spark. Let me say that I knew was the end for me, because I'm like, this is news. And it wasn't just that. We had another story. I had all the, you know, it was a tip about a detective sergeant within the Flint PD. He had a DUI in Oakland County, and then within like a month or two, he got a second DUI in Genesee County, which would have violated his, you know, agreement in Oakland County. So instead of going to jail, somehow or another, his second DUI in Flint, he was pulled over by MSP, gets popped up to the AG's office, and then it gets dismissed. I think it's a story, you know.
It's absolutely a story, and your dog's upset. Your dog's upset at that.
Yeah. So it's never aired. You know, I had all the documentations, and you pitch it, no problem, and then the calls start coming in to, let's just say, certain longtime members of the newsroom and higher ups, and it's like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, but then the week later, you want me to go after a Burton cop. I'm like,
are they scared of being sued?
Well, you can't be sued if you're accurate and you have the documentation.
That's true, but I've worked some companies. It seems now, even if there's a little chance someone would, I've had it before where someone would call and threaten to sue. And even if we were in the right, it would be taken down, because corporate, they don't want to risk anything. At least I had that experience at times.
Yeah.
State stations in the past.
So and you know, there's always a balance in this world, but I think in this situation, how it was kind of explained to me, if we went forward with the story, we would no longer get any information out of Flint PD. My response to that was like, well, we don't get anything now, so what's it matter?
No, people should know. Flint Police Department, I've worked 25 years, the absolute, and I can say this, I don't care if they hear it, the absolute worst in the nation when it comes to getting information. And first of all, for people who listen to police scanners, not in Flint, they have the police scanners encrypted, and I think it's through Genesee County, but you only get stuff through tips or people messaging or texting. There could be 3 murders the night before and you would never know.
Yeah.
And they're not going to tell you about it.
Oh no. I had when I was like, you're leaving and Dave, I'm kind of that old school journalist. Like you see lights and sirens, you follow them, right? Like I don't care if I'm off.
Yeah, now I tell my wife, get the phone out because something could happen. And yeah.
Right. And so I think I must have anchored on a Sunday, and then there was something and I shot all of it. And it was something, I think it was at the Coca-Cola factory or something. And they were like, so I sent the video and said, hey, I'm off on Monday and Tuesday. Make sure you check up on this. And they were told, oh, it's a medical. And that's all it took, was like, no one verified. I go, really? Every Flint police officer and for Genesee County. Yeah, medical. Maybe a medical if they were stabbed. Everyone was laughing. But it was but all it took was it was a medical. No one makes them verify anything that they say. And so you'll appreciate this too, Dave. I'm talking too much, but I get ticked up. So fine. We caught an illegal scrapper in one of the schools.
In Detroit?
No, in Flint.
Oh, okay.
So we are going to a story, and it's not even like it's a potential story, right? So I'm stressed because I have to be live at 6 and I don't have a story yet. And mind you, I'm coming in at 2:45.
Yep.
So you have to come in at 2:45 and have a story that you can set up and go, And I think at that point, it was like, I'm not going to spend my off time in the morning setting up stories anymore, right? Like, so we're driving by a vacant school in Flint, and I see a van backed up. Well, I've done enough of these stories in Detroit that I know what's going on. Yep. So I say to the photog, I go, let's circle around, So yeah, we go in, the door is propped open, by the way. So we go out, we call 911, or we call, I didn't call the 911, I called the non-emergency. Yeah. Said where we were, what was happening, the plate number. It was a white van with Texas plates. Here's what I described. So while we're waiting, we're now doing a story. So I get the neighbors talking about all the illegal scrappers in this vacant school and how it's, detrimented the neighborhood.
Yeah, and great story.
We never saw police once, right? And usually if you say you're media, they'll come a little bit quicker.
Not in Flint, maybe.
So they threatened, the Flint PD threatened to arrest me for going into that school. So I said to the PI,
not thanking you. They didn't thank you for calling.
No. So I said to them, because so here's how it didn't even come to me. They called the GM, and then the GM and the news director brought me into the office, and I'm like, of course they did. Give me a break. I have done this so many times,
Did it even air? Did the story even air?
No, it did, because we were, how it is. That producer needs that 6 o'clock hit.
Yeah.
So
but you heard about it later, though.
But it was, yeah. So then they called up and said, I damaged their investigation. And I go, what investigation? Okay, fill me in. Who is this guy? Is it part of a ring? Blah, 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 blah. Never anything. Every time after that, when I would call the PIO for Flint PD, he was like, well, you remember that time and we did you a favor because we didn't arrest you. And I go, so I got to the point, I told him to basically shut the hell up. And I probably used other language. Nice. If you're going to arrest me, I'll take that misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Trespassing. He goes, oh no, we would slap you with a felony. And I said, bring it.
Well, someone in my chat said they remember that. Go, Ronnie, go. Someone says. So I know I don't want to take too much of your time. What is going on with the media? Back in the day, I grew up in Detroit. I remember, I was actually friends with Kevin Dietz. He was at DIV, great investigative reporter. In different cities I've been in, great investigative reporters. there may be some throughout the country, but it just doesn't feel like there is real investigative. It's not even it's not even journalism in a way. It's just reactionary. I don't know what's happened to the world of local news. What's going on in your opinion? Why are we seeing it just crash to the bottom?
And this is what breaks my heart, is because these are real communities and the communities that we live in. Yeah. And, our job was to be the watchdog, and that's not happening any longer. And we need to remember that news is a business. And I think before, newsrooms were kind of off limits for that business side, but now we're seeing, because ratings have declined, which means revenue has declined. People, the younger generation, they're not tuning into your local news, right? So they're struggling, and what they're doing is they're bowing down to the pressure from these politicians and from these businesses and these organizations, because they say, we have to look out for the overall good of the station and to support this. But, what type of news are you getting now? And I get it. Like, we do need someone to cover the day of and the press. But even when we go to the press events, you're not asking the questions behind the press event, right?
No, you're not. You're at the, Congressman, whoever, $1 million of taxpayer money is going to this project. You're not even digging into it. Where is this money going? Who's benefiting? What lawmaker is? You're not digging into any of it.
No, it is just, and it's, I'm happy that at least I got into this world when I did, because Dave, I don't know about your newsroom when you left, but ours, you have these, Flint was never what we would call a starter market. You were usually hiring people with experience to get in there. Now they're hiring them out of college, and they don't even know, they're MMJs. So they're going out, they're writing, shooting, and editing all their stuff by themselves. So what are you doing in that case? You're looking for the quickest, easiest story, a Zoom interview, slap it together. But on top of that, we're not fostering the growth of our next generation. They don't know the difference between district court and federal court and circuit court, or even, and don't even begin, how do you get those records? And it's
are things, let me ask you, it's been 8 years since I've been in Pittsburgh, a bigger market. Is it better in Detroit? I would assume Detroit, you have more seasoned journalists, but even there, I'm seeing them come from Traverse City, or it's not like back in the day. Detroit was my goal, and I couldn't get there. It took a while to work my way up. Now I could probably go from Traverse City to Channel 7.
Yeah, and sadly that's happening. But you still have that feed the machine, because now everyone has so many newscasts. I mean, you look at Fox 2, they come on at 4:30 in the morning. They're on to 1 in the afternoon. Then they come back. That is so many hours of content.
Yeah.
But I think, sorry.
No, take a drink.
I haven't had to talk this much in a while.
I know. It's like you're not anchoring the news here for us.
So, but you at least still have seasoned people behind the scenes that can help, right?
In Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah. They still have assignment editors that, for the most part, during the week, assignment editor, they've been there forever. Right?
Yeah, my last place, we had no assignment editor at my last station.
Well, by the time I left, we didn't either.
Okay.
We never, on the weekends, I couldn't believe it. We didn't have an assignment editor. We didn't have a reporter. I was like, the photog was also editing the shows, and I was like, oh my God, I think I gave up at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
the public, it's a disservice to the public because public officials are loving this. I'm sure they are, and I talk about public officials. You know, Governor Whitmer, her staff, they're amazing at writing press releases. I've caught people at times copy pasting press releases and putting them on the web, and
Oh,
they write.
always. That is
Yeah,
so common.
yeah, the PR people are great at writing them because they know the newsrooms are so short staffed. They're hoping just copy paste, put the news release and put it on the web.
Yeah.
It's
Isn't
just
that?
sad.
And I have to tell you though, I have been on the backside and benefited from that world.
Oh yeah.
You know, when I was the PIO for ATF, and you could just put stuff out, and you know, the other thing like I could do was, you know, I think I was the first media person, mainstream media person that was ever hired for ATF. And so I knew how it worked. So I would record them. You know, we built a studio in our field office in Detroit, and I would record them and write a script. And then I would edit it and throw it up online on Twitter and say, hey, because there were times like, you know, we covered the entire state. So if we were doing a reward in Traverse City, I'm not going to send an ASAC all the way up there to do an interview. So I'm like, hey, let me just record this and then I'm going to throw it out. Or if I had video or photos of, you know, like some case that we were putting out. And for the most part, I never had anyone question me. And, you know, I knew sweeps like ratings when it would come up. I would always send out an email and say, hey, if anyone has an adjudicated case, let me know, because this is the time they're looking for sweeps pieces and I can get you, you know, I can get us on TV. And that worked really well in Michigan. I could tell you I covered Chicago. Chicago was like, no.
Yeah.
Chicago still has real journalists. Although I was super bummed because I had a great case, ATF case in Chicago. And we were even finding like the confidential informant that we used who was shot during the investigation was going to go on camera, and they still turned us down.
Wow.
I was like, are you crazy?
A big difference. Yeah. Michigan has a lot of issues. So now we're getting more in, well, other cities. I know I have several friends. I have a friend in Seattle, independent. She's now independent, but she left. What is the future then? What is the hope for journalism it sounds like Michigan had lots of issues, and you know, it starts at the corporate level, but where's the future? Where does it go from here? I mean, yourself, you're still going to be on social media, hopefully, and you're going to be letting us know stuff maybe you find out, and myself as well. But where do we go from here?
You know, and that's kind of sad as we're losing so many seasoned journalists. So you have some that are hanging on because they're close to retirement. So that's what they have to do. Those of us that could leave, we are able to. And so you're looking at people such as yourself doing these platforms, but also, you know, in Metro Detroit, Charlie LaDuff, who, you know, he's really been able to love him or hate him. So people love him, so people hate him. But Charlie breaks stories. And, you know, you'll find mainstream media will follow him like, you know, a week or two later. But he's still real journalism. And I think that's where we're going, is that the model has to change, if that's nonprofit journalism or if it's, you know, because we have too many people who are citizen journalists who don't have our experience and our background to really know, by the way, the laws. And there are a lot of things that we find out that we don't put out in public because they're not verified or we're not able to confirm them, right?
Yeah, I did a whole thing that I was going to put on my platform, and it turned out it just wasn't right. It didn't pass the smell test, and that's the problem. Everyone has a phone, and everyone thinks they're a journalist. They're not, but there's ethics, there's morals, and there's slander, and that's what, like, we are trained. Charlie, yourself, we are trained to know that. But the good thing with Charlie, myself now, I don't have a big corporation breathing down my neck. And that's why Charlie just doesn't care. He'll go after anybody on the left or the right. Doesn't matter.
Right. And I've always been the same way. Like, I'm not a political person. I consider myself an independent. I don't lean one way or the other. Here's how I look at it. It's our tax dollars. And, we have a right to see how you're spending our tax dollars and how you're using our tax dollars, to further your careers. And that's really what we're seeing happening. But we don't have watchdogs any longer. And so occasionally you'll have nonprofits or these, just citizen journalists, but I feel like we need to train them, something as simple as, because everyone knows I hate blight, right? Like, I'm known as the blight bitch. Yeah. And that's kind of another thing that got me in trouble at JRT. But I'm like, how did you not know I was a blight bitch? Like, I've been doing that for years. But the reason why is because I've seen that it's, when you're in a city, it's considered such a low level crime, because they have violent crime, that it's not addressed. So it continues, and it's typically people from the suburbs that are coming in and doing these things. And then the neighbors have to live with it. And even though they complain and they fight, nothing happens until the media gets involved. But on the backside, you look at the full scope, and it's destroying the neighborhoods, because the people that can afford to move get tired and say, screw it, I'm out of here. And the ones that can't give up.
One of the people watching right now, Jordan, who loves you, he said this would be a great headline next on Fox 2 News at 10, the blight bitch with a story on illegal dumping.
Right. But it was, and it is that. So we even have shirts made that says blight bitch.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So we have a posse of blight bitches. I have some in Flint and some in Detroit. And, you go through, and it's one of the things that I know, like, right, you go through, I even returned an illegally dumped boat once. But you go through the trash and you try to determine who has it. But you have to be careful also, like, who owns a property, because a registered agent, you can go on and try to pull up like a property or a business, but a registered agent isn't necessarily the owner. And so we had some of our citizen journalists who were like, calling up this registered agent, like, I'm going to blast you and put you all over social media. And the registered agent's like, wait a minute, I'm not the owner. Like, so those are the things that we learn as journalists that the public doesn't necessarily know, right?
Yeah, exactly. Question. Someone, have you ever been afraid to go out in an area of fear for your safety?
I get asked that question a lot, and no. Yeah. And here's why. It's like, especially in Detroit, when I was reporting, it's a little bit different when you haven't been on the camera for a while, although most people still kind of remember me. But I have found that people protect me. In fact, the time that we were returning the illegally dumped boat, I had a bunch of the drug dealers come out, and they did a circle around me to say, hey, and they're like, we got you. Because number one, I have to tell people, the rule with Dave Manning was I could not go after drug dealers. You couldn't, because it's like, look. And so there were times that we were going into these situations where, like, we're not here for you. No problem,
Yeah.
But then when I came into the neighborhood to do a story, they didn't want me there, right? Because it brought attention to the neighborhood. So they were in to help me as much as they could.
Yeah.
And to get me out. And a lot of times they give me a lot of information. Yeah, sources, Dave, come on all levels.
Oh yeah, and it's all about being aware of your surroundings. I worked with great photographers back in the day in Pittsburgh, and I mean, it's knowing, just keeping an eye out and knowing your surroundings as well. And I've had photographers that have saved me several times in situations like I was live. One photographer basically, boom, knocked a guy out as he was coming at me.
Oh
So
my gosh, I want to see that video.
yeah, I might still have it somewhere. So are you done with, you ever see yourself going back in the TV world?
No. If I go back, because I miss, it was a privilege. So I come from a very simple background. My dad was a factory worker. Neither one of my parents had high school degrees. I come from a family of 9.
Same here. I'm one of 7. Oh.
So I'm I have a twin sister. So we're 8 and 9, and I was the only one to get a college degree. And so I feel extremely lucky and grateful to have been able to be a part of it. And some people will say, well, you sure screwed that up, didn't you? But I think for me, it was when you come from a low income family and people ignore you, like your voice doesn't matter. And finally, I had a voice to fight for them. And then when you've been successful at that and it gets taken away, it breaks your heart. I'll still do stuff, maybe, freelance. I'm still doing, talking to people to do some freelance stuff with some real journalists that are still out here, and maybe nonprofit. But the great thing about what we do, Dave, is that people don't understand is that it really crosses over into what I'm doing now.
It does. Yes. And what can you say about what you are doing now? Because you have it on the screen there.
Yeah.
And that seems Ronnie Dahl Investigations. You've always investigated, but now this is, yeah. And what are you up to now?
So now you get paid for being a kind of a document whore, if I can say that, right?
Yeah.
There's in the Michigan law, there are certain requirements that you have to cross to be able to get your license as a private investigator. Here in Michigan, they call them professional investigators. And one of those is be an investigative journalist. And so, and so I, became licensed. I think there are 2 others. Scott Lewis did it, who I used to work with, and Bill Proctor. So
I didn't know he was, okay.
Yeah. So what I was doing is I actually volunteered my time with a private investigator that had been able to help people wrongfully convicted get out of prison.
Oh, nice.
So while I was still at, JRT, I didn't want to, because I couldn't take, look, they were all over me. Like they wouldn't even let me go Facebook Live on my personal Facebook without their approval.
Shut up.
After I did a blight bitch thing with Wintis Hall, they shut me down. And anything after that, I had to get their approval. So when they went and cover stories, let's just say, I don't know, but maybe those stories would make it to people like Charlie LaDuff or Steve Niebling with Metro Times. And then I would repost them. And then I got in trouble for that. So,
oh my God.
But what we're doing, as a private investigator, is really we're good at this, Dave, like us old school reporters, because we know how to dig for documents. It's
fun. It's fun. Like back in the day in North Carolina, we'd go to the police station. I would love digging through documents, or I'm looking through a budget, the Michigan budget. I look through how much waste is in there. I'm looking for little projects. It's actually fun.
Right. So here's a little secret with Dave and I. So back then you would go to the police department, and in Wilmington, they would put a basket with all the new police reports on it and the newest ones on top. So if I got there before Dave and I found something good, I would hide it like deep in that pile so that
I
you can
caught
go
on.
through it and miss it.
Yeah, I caught on. I caught on to that. Yeah. But that's competitive, and it was good times. And yeah, I don't know, but you're right. People like Charlie LaDuff, several other people across the country, people are connecting with people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, I know my former station was, every story has to be a minute 30 or the minute this. And then they're like, well, why is Joe Rogan getting millions of people listening for 3 hours? I think people like realness, and they like real content that has value.
Yeah. Well, and you're looking, it's the story behind the story, I want to know what led someone to make that decision or their life story, and I think that now we have so many platforms that are giving us that opportunity. So it's going to be interesting going forward to see how this evolves. Because we were doing a true crime podcast that we're working on, like reinventing as well and making it just that. Nice. Not, because when you're trying to do like we would do, editing a story into sound bites, and that takes so much time. But why can't I just sit down and have a conversation with, the victim of the crime that we've been doing for years? Yep. Right. And no one has but why not just give that to the public? Right. And why do we have to polish it into a minute 15?
And people love that. They do. And then it's your personality as well. So the whole media industry is at a crossroads. And like I said, I thought I would miss it. I'm still doing kind of journalism on the side. I sometimes miss, the breaking news events and being out there, but I'm 48 years old. I have 2 children, and things changed. I wanted at one point to be in Detroit, but it's weird how things change in life. And I'm not sad at all that I left. I'm happier, actually.
Well, we never anticipated the industry to change like it has.
No, and I don't know if you knew, but I was anchoring. I was our digital content manager. I was working 15, 16 hours a day sometime, because as we were losing staff, the expectation was that the ratings still remain high, that we still got the social media and the clicks on the website. And I was just overwhelmed 16, 17 hours a day. And I'm like, I can't.
Right. And that's what the people like, you don't understand. Like, you're not getting paid that much. Right. Like for me, it's like you go night side and then or you go in and you anchor on the weekend. You have no reporters. So what content are you putting up there? Why am I even here if you're just doing national? And to have all the people around you not have that journalism experience, you're also trying to teach them. Right. And there were times like I would come in early and try to turn packages or do Zooms, and you're not getting paid. And it's like, this is stupid. This is stupid. This is not journalism. The people, like the public, and then when I think for me the draw, it was just when all these things were coming out about the mayor and pushing us to question what was going on with the administration. Like, I had the tip about the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority director, and let's just say the appearance of improper usage of her credit card. Yeah. I don't know about you, but like, it used to be that you were like, oh my God, I have to have this first, right? Wouldn't cover it.
No, you would be, your managers.
I had so many parking tickets. That's my money.
Yeah, our past news directors in the past would be like, all right. My news director, Scott Pickey, back in the day, would be like, all right, Bondy, go get that. You would be praised for that. But I was actually at times not scared, but nervous to bring up something controversial, because it wouldn't get approved. You wouldn't challenge, especially during COVID. I did a lot. I questioned a lot of things with the governor and so forth. And they didn't want to ruin the relationship with those officials. Like you're saying with the mayor's office in Flint, they didn't want to have that communication cut off. But
so at one time that was the mayor had apparently they wouldn't send any of the notices to the newsroom because they were pissed at me. So then it was like, okay, so let me balance this. You cannot report on Flint. Okay. But even then it still didn't happen. And, when they were paying me to sit there and do nothing, I was like, this is stupid. But
yeah,
but I keep saying I'm going to send a thank you card to the mayor because that allowed me. So during that time, I was sitting there for hours every day, right? So I sat there and worked on my PI company, building my website, getting graphics, finalizing all the paperwork that you need, the bonds, so I owe him a debt of gratitude.
Wow. So are you happy now? Is life good?
It is. I mean, it's not perfect because, you're still kind of stressed about is the business going to come in and how much business. And so I turn away because I focus on getting documents and criminal defense and political backgrounds. I'm really good at that. But
Okay, so you're not, like I said, you're not someone to, oh, my wife's cheating on me, I want you to follow her around. Those people exist. That's not you, though.
No, they exist. And so I don't do that. But I do have PI companies that I connect them with. Okay. But the good thing about that is like you make sure that it's an ethical PI because there are over 700 licensed PIs in the state of Michigan, but only like I think 100 and maybe 50 of us are a part of the association, which is the Michigan Council of Professional Investigators. So, it kind of scares you because there's really no watchdog over. And with so many people leaving law enforcement, more and more law enforcement people are becoming PIs. So you want to make sure when you're getting a PI that you are asking those questions. So I've already turned down people that have reached out to say, I don't think I'm the best person for that, but I can, refer you to this person or that person. So.
Okay, so if someone's watching this and they have a question of where to go, they can message you on social media and, hey, can you do this or can you tell me who can? You can guide them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But here's the thing I've run into is when you announce you're a PI, they think you're still an investigative journalist and you're going to do it for free, and you're like, no, okay, and I spend way too much time on the phone or looking into cases before I even decide if I'm going to take them. And other PIs won't. They charge from the beginning. I don't because I want to know a little bit more about it before I even get back to you. So, but I've had some people because, they just think you're going to do it for free. And then when you say, okay, hey, I need you to sign a contract and here's my rate. then they're like, okay. You never hear back from them again. But
it takes a lot of time. And time and work. People don't realize that. Even the reporting and the research, it takes time. And we didn't have makeup people at the station. Everyone always says that. Did you makeup people? I never had a makeup person.
So I have a funny story about that. When I was a producer at Fox 2 eons ago, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, she was coming into Fox 2 to do an interview, and it was the weekend morning show. So they come in and she has no makeup on. And they just assume we're going to have this huge makeup because it used to network and stuff. And we're like, no. And so our people were scrambling to do her hair and makeup. But yeah, no. And although Channel 7, Diana Lewis always had someone to do her makeup. I think it must have been in her contract, but those contracts are gone. I don't know.
The $1 million anchors are, not around much anymore.
Right. So, but I think anyone that's in the investigative journalism world that is thinking about leaving, there are opportunities out there, and doing work with, different attorneys, criminal defense attorneys, you know, the underrepresented. I think for us, like I said, most of my clients right now are prisoners, because the one thing you find is that once they get convicted, it's so hard to get them out. So if we can help be a part of this program to find information and to help in their defense before they get convicted, then that's going to help all of us, right? Because you don't have wrongfully convicted people, you don't have and then this process of trying to get them out. And you know what, for us, Dave, is like, we've interviewed hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Right. And you go up at the worst time, and people are hostile, or they just lost their loved one, they've been shot, murdered, fatal accidents. We've knocked on the doors and we've had to approach people and talk to people. So I think we're a little bit better at that than some of the other PIs. And so for other investigative journalists that are kind of looking for what's my next path, I will say this might be something for them.
Gotcha. Well, someone just said one last comment here. Who needs a burglar alarm when you have the bark?
Yeah. Oh my God. So Trixie is a rescue dog. Oh. That let's just say she has people problems. She's very good with dogs, but she has people problems. She's so cute though. She's like we've hashtagged her, by the way, a schnauzador. We made it up. They think she's a schnauzer lab. We don't know, but she's so cute. She looks like a Disney dog, but she's got that big bark, like a lab bark, and everyone wants to play with her because she looks like a Disney dog. Oh, no. She's dog friendly, not people friendly. So don't come to my house.
See, that's good. Well, I'm going to let you go. I thank you for taking the time. I'll send you a link of our great talk, and maybe we can do lunch. And, I'm driving around Metro Detroit a lot, and I'll stop by and text you and have lunch and meet up.
I would love that. I'm sad though that you're gone from media. So, but I'm happy for you. And it's really, it takes a lot of faith when you're in your position with a family to walk away. So I hope you understand and appreciate the strength that it took for you to do that.
It had been years that I had, last 2-3 years wanting to, and as well as you. So I wish you all the best, and I'll let you go. I'll send you a link, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much. Wow, that was Ronnie. Amazing individual right there. Amazing woman. Like I said, I worked with her in Wilmington, North Carolina.